This is Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nik and Moiz. Let's start talking about money. Guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I'm an early investor in Fulfill. I invested in about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really nascent, and they were working with smaller direct-to-consumer businesses. Now they work with huge brands, including Nectar and Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway, and in fact, another brand that I've invested in, Cadence. It's a fantastic ERP. The same thing that Klaviyo did to MailChimp in terms of building an email system made exclusively for our industry. Well, that's what Fulfill is doing to NetSuite. They're making an ERP built exclusively for our industry. It's fantastic. It is a single source of truth for your business. They offer everything from accounting to order management to inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. Make sure you never miss a sale. Learn more at Fulfill.io.
Nik, this is episode 7. This is the first episode with Fulfill.io as a sponsor, which I'm super excited about. I love those guys. We're going to get into that at some point later in this season. But before we do that, let's talk about the agenda for today. I know you want to talk about some ambulance chasing attorney. It seems like you're becoming a real victim to ambulance chasing attorneys.
Fired up.
Which is the worst. I know you want to talk about the Sephora loyalty program, which I think is a great segue into what I want to talk about, which is our like clever retention and win back strategies. And then I also want to talk about one sales channel, which we don't discuss a lot, which is corporate gifting. Like, how do you do B2B gifting?
Nice.
And does it make sense? So maybe we can start with clever retention strategy. Let's start there, and let's start with the Sephora loyalty program, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course. So, one of the things I'm always looking at is how do you say something without saying it? Like, how do you say something that is really beneficial to you, but you position it in a way that's beneficial to the consumer? And I think Sephora does one of the best jobs of this with their loyalty program. They've got a program called the Beauty Insider. So, you sign up, you become a Sephora Beauty Insider, and they've got basically 3 tiers. Tier 1 is free to join, and it's not called it's just called an insider. It's free to join. You've got VIB, which is $350 a year, and I'm not sure what the B stands for. I imagine beauty. And then you've got Rogue.
You pay $350 a year?
No. You have
to spend $350 a year.
It just means you've spent $350. Yeah. And then the third one is the same thing, but for $1,000. And, from my conversations with people who are a part of the loyalty program, they've said that either A, they like it for the discounts, B, they said that being a part of the program, they end up spending more time on the Sephora app, or whenever they get an inclination to buy something, beauty, wellness, personal care related, they go straight to Sephora first. So they don't even go to Amazon or the brand site. Maybe they even see a brand's Facebook ad, and then the first place they go to look at it is on Sephora. I also can say from a Nordstrom standpoint, I do the same thing. If I find a piece of clothing that I want, or a pair of shoes, or a shirt, or a pair of pants, I always go to Nordstrom first,
shopper,
just because I've got the Nordstrom card.
Wow.
I am the Nordstrom shopper.
Okay, gotcha.
And a lot of people have said that they just love the ease of shopping. But here's what I think is awesome. So first of all, they do something that I think Mack Weldon did really well, and they were probably one of the first to do it a while ago, which is they make it free to join this tier. So it's like, as soon as you decide to opt in or that you want to be a part of this, you get benefits right away, which essentially lowers the barrier of gratification, which is, I think, what you're constantly fighting for as a consumer. You're looking for, okay, if I commit to this program, whether it's a subscription, a loyalty program, whatever, when do I get the gratification back? It's a reason I think a lot of the normal out-of-the-box loyalty programs don't work, is because you have to spend a shitload of money before you get a $10 credit. Whereas here, it's like, hey, come join our Beauty Insider. Even just the positioning of it, it's not like you're joining a loyalty program or it's like, come join Sephora's exclusive Beauty Insider program. The second thing is they make it easy to get cash back or discounts. But the real thing that I admire about it is if you go to their site, you'll see how they write copy in a way that's actually beneficial to Sephora, but it's written as it's beneficial to the customer. So for subscription, like the ability to just put a product on subscription, anybody can do that. But the way they write the copy is you get in this tier, which is every tier, you get access to auto replenish products. Just sounds like, wow, I want that. I want the access to auto replenish products. The other one they have, which actually comes with a separate subscription, which is, I think, maybe $40-$50, is access to same day delivery. So it just means that you're going to pay extra for same day delivery. And you still have to buy a $49 a year subscription in order to get same day delivery. But, the fact that you get access to same day delivery, it just makes it sound more enticing. So really the punchline of this is, one, I think loyalty programs can definitely work, but two, it's in the way that it's written out and it sounds to the customer. They also have a couple of other things like, free birthday gift, or you get rewards back after spending X amount of dollars, you get points. Those are like table stakes. I mean, all of this is really table stakes for a loyalty program. But I think, or even think of it as a subscription program. If you're a brand selling beverages or food or some sort of a consumable, you can take this same type of thinking and apply it to that landing page for subscription. But as people build out subscription pages, the challenge is always, okay, what are my value props? Or like, how do I convince somebody that a subscription is actually good for them? When I was at Hint, a lot of what we did was positioning it around convenience, or the fact that you don't have to lug it home from the store, or it's, as soon as you run out, it's already there. You don't have to worry about going a couple days without it. And I think this is sort of a different version of that, which is on the loyalty side. How do you make these things that should be totally obvious anyways? How do you just make it personified and sound really good? So that was the one thing I wanted to bring here.
Yeah, I think their copy is really great. And I will say that people are diehard Sephora beauty Sephora loyalty program fans. I think it's for several reasons. One is probably, some of the copy and getting convinced by that copy. I think a bigger reason is that Sephora sort of at least they price match at least everyone, right? So like if you buy a beauty product at Sephora, you're going to get the best price. It's not like it's going to be cheaper at the company store or on Amazon. And now you're engaged in like a real loyalty program where you're getting material benefits. Like, I've heard the Sephora Red program. I think that's the highest level, or whatever, the $1,000 tier. You get a huge discount off of every purchase, as I understand it. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't really done any Sephora shopping in my life, but I've heard that that's how it works. And so people are signing up being like, I don't think I've ever bought anything off of from Sephora unless I was like, what are the ingredients in this product? I need to see how, unless I was doing research, unless I was doing business research, I don't think I've ever bought anything at Sephora. And so I'm an Ulta man, Nick. But really, I think the price, I think people buy it because they're like, I'm getting the best price, and there's a loyalty program that works across multiple brands. And so it's really powerful. I think that I think it does the same thing that the American Airlines or Delta or United program might do, which is like, if all of the airplane tickets are $100, you're going to buy the one and sit on the plane that you have a loyalty program that you're signed up with in terms of loyalty. You probably won't buy an American Airlines ticket if it's $140 and Delta and United are $100, because you're like, maybe the loyalty isn't worth it here. Like, I think if Sephora was priced above Amazon or above a direct-to-consumer site, people would not value the loyalty that they have today. Instead, they're like, rather than join a loyalty program at Native and at Bloom and at 40 other personal at First Aid Beauty, 40 other brands, let me just join one, and it sort of works across the entire board. And I think that's the value of it. And I think that's why people find it really special. I've also heard that they do amazing things where they'll be like, okay, we're having a night where we're just having the highest tier people come in and learn about products and get free samples and all that kind of stuff. So I do think that they do a really good job of it.
Even in that though, right? The context is like, it's still so it's like Sephora probably sold that night for $150,000 to some brand and said, hey, Estee Lauder, you're launching this new product. We're going to come teach our best people, right? It's just like, it's so smart the way that it's done. And you totally, to your point the loyalty program takes so many things, but yeah, it's fascinating when like brands figure out a way to sort of flip it on the other person.
Are any direct-to-consumer brands doing this really well?
No, I can't think of a direct-to-consumer brand that does this really well. I think like part of it is you have to have this like marketplace-like approach right? If I was just a single brand, it's hard to have a loyalty program that, for example, like when I went to Nordstrom, I got, let's say I bought from this brand Canali. Canali, if I were to just get a loyalty program with Canali, like it would only go so far.
Fuck, you spending money.
Yeah, we out here, Moiz. But having the program with Nordstrom, then having the program with Nordstrom just makes a lot more sense. So I think like it is sort of partial to marketplaces in this context, but I also think a lot of these same learnings could be applied for an individual brand who's building a subscription program or a loyalty program, just in the way of like, how do you think about either creating experiences or providing benefits that are not just beneficial to the brand, but equally beneficial and interesting also. Like Sephora does a really good job staying interesting to their best customers too.
Yeah, I've seen people try this, and we tried this in native. We failed spectacularly. I've seen other people do a better job, but no one succeeded in terms of Sephora. So we would be like, great, we're going to launch a new scent for this seasonal collection. You get first access to it. You get first access to certain sales. But reality is that like, if you didn't get first access, you'd wait a week and you'd still have that access. It wouldn't be like, wasn't anything crazy.
Right.
So I think we didn't do a very good job of it. I think other people have done a much better job, particularly launching like exclusive products where they're like, hey, here's this exclusive product we're launching, like, to our 5,000 best customers. They're going to be able to buy this color or this scent or this look in a way that nobody else will. And I think that's a much better benefit because it's something that's exclusive rather than early access, which is kind of a joke. I've also seen people like, I guess I'm not sure if I would say this is a loyalty program, but a lot of brands I've seen create communities across their best customers and be like, okay, great. We've got our 1,000 best customers here. Let's talk to them and see what resonates with them and what doesn't. And here's an example that's completely made up. I'm not sure if these guys do it or not, but like, imagine if you're Magic Spoon and you have 1,000 people in a Facebook group that's a closed Facebook group. They're your best customers. And you're like, we're thinking about launching this flavor. What do you guys think? And then you launch it and these people try it and you're like, hey, what were your thoughts? We're thinking about making this mainstream, or we're thinking about doing a seasonal thing, or maybe we're just not going to sell it anymore. We'd love to get your thoughts on it. So I do think that there's value in those types of communities. I think there's value in that type of loyalty in terms of like, encouraging your best customers to buy again and giving them exclusive colors and gifts. I think the worst layer is early access to sales, early access to new scents. But you're right.
Agreed.
I haven't seen a direct-to-consumer brand do this really well.
The only other thought that comes to mind with this conversation is I think you could maybe pull it off as an individual brand if you have like experiences that people themselves want to attend. And I say that because you mentioned the Sephora experience of like going to the store and learning about something or having some sort of exclusive night. The other example where I've seen that work well is like, think about the US Open. Like they've got 3 or 4 different layers of pre-sales before, today the sale actually opened to the public. It was like American Express and a couple others, but it's all event-based. It's not necessarily like product access based.
Yeah, that's a good point. And who else could do this? I think is like influencer-led brands. Like if you're if you're like Feastables or Goop or Honest, you're like, hey, top customers are going to get to hang out with Jessica Alba or Gwyneth Paltrow or Mr. Beast. I think there's a lot of value in that type of there's a lot of value because there's nothing you can put in terms of price on that, right? Like it's an exclusive experience that's only available to people like this. And I think that would be amazing.
Totally.
Yeah, I remember we used Capital One's credit card because I didn't know any better at the time when I was running some native ads, and they invited me to. I shouldn't say I didn't know any better. They were really kind about it. I shouldn't say that. They were really kind about it. They invited me to like the football championship for the college football championship going on at like the 49ers Stadium in San Francisco, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, it was a unique experience. I hadn't thought of it. They're like, here, come over here. I got there and they're like, here's a $20 gift card. Go get yourself a beer, which was really nice. I was like, look, we're spending several $1 million a month on this credit card.
In the last 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. But I really appreciated it. And I got to know the guy, and it was a really good way of like building a personal relationship. This is a good segue into clever retention and win back strategies that I've been thinking about. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know anyone who does this really well. Like, I saw Scentbird. Let me talk about a few different strategies, just randomly. I saw Scentbird, which is like a perfume company. It's like a, think of Netflix for perfume. I don't know a better example of saying that. But basically, you get different samples of perfume every quarter or every month, depending on how frequently you want it. They did something where they're like, on your third subscription box, we're going to throw in a free gift. And a lot of new subscription apps have started to create that type of software feature. Like what is Gina's called?
Stay.
Was it something else before? It was called something else, or it was always called Stay?
Protection.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think her like app has a feature that does something like that. Where I think that like Loop also has a feature that does something like that. I'm not sure if like Recharge does, but it's basically like, okay, look, we understand that usually after 2 packages or 3 packages, people churn from our subscription. We're going to incentivize you to stay on by giving you a free gift in that 3rd package. It's going to cost us very little for that free gift, and we understand when people churn, and so that free gift is right after when people churn, so that they're incentivized to stay on a little longer. I thought that was a really clever retention strategy back in 2015 when I saw Scentbird doing it. I was like, wow, must have taken you like months to build it. Back then this technology was still like nascent and people didn't it wasn't so available the way it is today.
Actually,
I thought that was really smart.
Speaking of that technology, do you remember a company named Retention Science based out of LA?
Yeah. I know them really well.
That's what, their bread and butter was this. Basically, they were like, we will run your email and we will figure out exactly when people will drop. And we will make sure that ahead of people dropping, based on their actions or their order patterns, we will be able to get in front of them and tell them, if we know that a Hint subscriber drops off after month 7, at month 6, we're going to reach out to them and tell them that either, we're going to send them a new flavor or we're going to cut their bill in half or the next month's on us. And it usually gets them over a hump to then get them to the next hump where they have to be cautious about somebody leaving. But I don't think anybody has, I don't know if that company's still around. We did use them at Hint, and I used them a couple times after that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. What a testament. Here's some other ones that I've seen. Nutrafol. Do you know Nutrafol?
Yes.
It's like a hair loss supplement. The business was sold to Unilever. If you unsubscribe from their subscription and you've been a subscriber for a bit, I know this because one of my friends had this experience. They'll be like, hey, you should talk to a dermatologist. Let us set you up with a free consultation with our dermatologist to talk about your hair loss journey, which is a really you're like, oh, I get to talk to a dermatologist for free, which if you don't have insurance is worth a ton. And if you do have insurance, still fucking worth a ton because it's so annoying to go to a dermatologist or any doctor's office. And so they're like, let's talk to you about it. And so I thought that was a really interesting way of
that's amazing.
Trying to keep you. They're like, okay, before you leave, why don't you talk to our dermatologist about your hair loss experience? And, they could have 400 dermatologists on staff and all they do is they say, they've got to train these dermatologists. Buy Nutrafol, buy Nutrafol, buy Nutrafol. And they're like, no matter what the issue is, Nutrafol will solve it. Just stay on. I mean, I'm not sure that they do any of that, but I thought that was a really good retention strategy.
Yeah, very smart. Also interesting that they divert you towards value and then hopefully bring you back.
Yeah, and it's like a unique thing, It's not just like, okay, everyone has done but if you don't subscribe, how about we give you 20% off your next order? Everyone has done that. Okay, we're going to give you a little bit of a discount off your next order. Hopefully you don't learn that you can do this every time and game it, but you can. So I thought that Nutrafol one was really good. The other one that I've seen people do, or one guy I knew he did this. This wasn't a win back strategy; it was a retention strategy, which was he was selling smoothies on the internet, and once you bought the smoothies, he'd call you up and be like, "How are they working for you?" And he's like, "Those phone calls generate 50% of our revenue because we call you up, you're not used to it, and you're a nice guy with who lives in America." It's sort of like that postscript strategy of text sales. He actually had a sales team, and he'd be like, what's your experience like? And instead, the sales team was not pre-sale, it was post-sale. And it's like, oh, okay, I think a lot of supplement brands could do this. I think if I were a supplement brand, I'd probably call you up and be like, if I was Love Wellness, I'd be like, hey, how are you feeling after you've been taking our, digestion? Oh, your stomach is still a little upset. Maybe you need the multivitamin. Maybe you need sleep. Maybe you need the cramp one or the menstrual cycle one, whatever it is. Like, if I were a supplement brand, I think I would create a sales team and try and get people to to use 5 of my supplements instead of 1. Have you seen anybody do that?
I haven't seen a brand do that. I do know that there's like a customer service outsourcing company called Aventus in one of the Carolinas, North or South, I think. And they are basically ex-affiliate marketers turned like e-com customer service. And one of their benefit, or one of the things they're really good at, is like saving you from churning subscribers or upselling people who call in and have a complaint or that they need something different or they're not satisfied. But I haven't seen people do it proactively in the sense of like, hey, there's so many supplement brands. Hey, you've tried our de-bloat product. Have you thought about our energy product? Or you've been taking our energy product. How are you feeling? And maybe we need something else that, helps that. The way you said it was perfectly. I'm shocked that that doesn't exist as a service.
I think people should start having sales teams after the fact. I think Postscript has done a good job of doing it before the fact. I think Postscript should do it after the fact too. I would be like, hey, look, I think one of the guys that Postscript works with and talks about a lot is Dr. Squatch. If I were Postscript, I'd be like, hey, let me start texting these people to build. Hey, how's your experience going with our soap? Oh, you don't love the scent? How about this other scent? Oh, you love that Star Wars scent? Hey, we're launching another Star Wars collaboration. Oh, you're using our soap. What about our deodorant? Have you thought about using our deodorant? That's a new product that we just launched.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Postscript hasn't started doing it post-sale. Maybe they have, for all I know. But I think that's a huge opportunity for retention. It's like genuine, at scale, human outreach. I was thinking about what I did at Native for like clever retention and win-back strategies, and I really couldn't think of anything good. I'm like kind of ashamed of myself because I was spending some time and I was like, what did we do that was interesting? We did nothing for subscribers. The number one reason for subscription churn was I've got too many sticks of deodorant already, so it was going to be hard to get them to stay on. But even then, I didn't even say, hey, how about you stay on and we'll give you 20% off the next. We did literally nothing, which is embarrassing.
Yeah.
We did do something really interesting. I think other people should do this both from a retention and win-back strategy, which is your best customers should be tagged in your customer service software management system. So for instance, if you're using Help Scout or Gorgeous, I'm an investor in Gorgeous, or you're using Zendesk or whatever you're using, your best, if Nick emails Nordstrom, it should be like, Nick is a superstar client. A lot of people are buying Allbirds. This guy's buying Canali at Nordstrom, whatever. Send this guy overnight shipment. He wants an exchange, send it to him first and let him return it later on. Like, just make it a really great experience for those types of customers. That's one thing I think we did really well at Native. And I'm not sure everyone else is doing that. Like, you should sort of tag those customers. This guy, whatever your threshold is, it could be $100 if you're selling deodorant, and it could be $10,000 if you're Nordstrom. But if you're Nordstrom and Nick Sharma emails you and you spent over $10,000, he spent over $10,000 buying Canali, you need to get somebody to make that experience really, really great. It reminds me of that scene in Up in the Air. I'm not sure if you remember this, if you've seen this movie. George Clooney is like flown 10 million miles. He has 10 million American Airlines miles, and they give him a card that has his own number on the back, and he calls them and they're like, hey, George Clooney, what's up? And he's like, how did you know it was me? And they're like, this is your own private number. Basically, your top 5 customers should have their own private numbers to the company to be like, I want to get this done because they're spending so much with you.
Yeah, fully agreed. Fun fact about this. I heard from, actually, I'll have to tell you this later. I can't share this publicly. Anyways, fully agreed. If you're a high spender, you should have a private number and a direct line in.
Awesome. Okay, let's segue into something. Let's talk about another group of high spenders, which is corporate gifting. I feel like corporate gifting is something that is so under the radar. People don't talk about it often, and it seems really hard to do right and out of the gate. I feel like we've mastered so many different marketing strategies. People have done drops. People have mastered Facebook ads or Pinterest ads or TikTok ads. People have mastered brick and mortar stores. I still don't feel like brands rely on corporate gifting in a way that they maybe should be, or like as a channel that could be a really huge channel. Most people are like, okay, we're really big on Facebook. Now we get onto TV. No one's ever like, we're really good on Facebook. Let's do corporate gifting next and really knock that out of the park. It's very clear that many brands have done it well, right? Like, how many times have you gotten, like, I remember Facebook gave me a Roan sweater. how many times have you gotten a Yeti tumbler or you know, I don't know,
Totally.
something, right? Like everyone's gotten like a backpack from whatever backpack brand does corporate gifting for everybody, like Soul Guard. Yeah. Is there any brand that you know of that's like direct to consumer that's doing this well?
Yeah, actually, Cadence does a good job with corporate gifting. They've had everybody from like Meta to SpaceX be customers. And the interesting thing is you're right. Like nobody talks about it for the first couple years. And it's always like, you know, one day we'll think about it. I also think there's a couple things that go into it. Like you have to be in a category where you are either the category leader or you're the second place category leader. Like, you know, if somebody came out today with a tumbler, for example, I don't know that anybody would go outside of Yeti or Simple Modern or Stanley to go to as a corporate gift, because you also don't want to be that cheap company that gifts something. So I think one, you have to have a solid product and you have to be a 1 or 2 category leader. But I think on the flip side, like one employee who can get, you know, even call it 10 orders, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue from one person. And it's very high AOV. You know, you're not shipping it out individually, you're shipping it all to one place. So the margin is much better. And in Cadence's case, for example, you know, these are not individually lasered things anymore. It's basically one bulk order. So the efficiency goes way up. And yeah, I think corporate gifting is a huge sales channel. You know, I think I wouldn't be surprised if this year it's like 7 figures alone for Cadence. But I think for a lot of companies, like, you know, whether it's apparel, whether it's, I mean, I remember at Hint, we had Allbird shoes that were basically bought and then we threw a logo on, or we bought, you know, 100 Logitech speakers and threw a logo on them. And sometimes too, like we've done, we did it for another brand with Mad Happy. It's not like we even do it through them. We basically buy the stuff in bulk, ship it somewhere else, it gets printed on, and then it goes back to the brand. So there's even like, you know, even if you don't offer the full customization, you can only get the product. There's still an opportunity to do corporate gifting where you can then take it somewhere else.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I didn't realize Cadence was doing so much of that. Good for them. And I think, you know, one of the things I didn't think about, but I think you're right about is you need to be number 1 or number 2 category. Category leader. You can't be the number 10 guy and be like, hey, because no corporation wants to give the number 10 product out. Like, you know, I don't want a corporate gift you RC Cola. It's got to be Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Otherwise, it's just not like respectable.
Yeah, but it has your name on it.
Yeah. You got the RC Cola reference. Wow. Have you ever drank RC Cola?
No, but I think I've maybe seen it for sale and been like, that is not real.
Number 2. You know, I believe it or not, I believe that somebody could bring that back. But anyway, yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think there are small corporate gifting programs available for like, you know, Mad Happy, you just buy 75 sweatshirts, you get printed, you know, Sharma brands and somewhere else. And that's like a corporate gift or a gift for you guys. That makes a ton of sense. At Caskers, we used to go around and try and get businesses to be like, hey, if you're a law firm, why not send hard liquor to, you know, your clients? You have big clients. You want to keep them happy. It's Q4. Why not send them a bottle? And like the big thing, like, you know, when I think about corporate gifting, I generally think you're hunting real whales. Aside from the fact that it's going to be a huge AOV this year, there's a good chance that it's going to be a huge AOV every year. Like when we got a couple of these offices to do this, they would be buying, I don't know, $50,000 of merchandise in November every single year. It was like, we just start calling them up again the next year and be like, hey, we still have everyone's contact information. Do you want to update this list in any way? Do you want more people, less people, like updated addresses? Great. We're just tell us how much your budget, and we're going to go spend that correctly across all the people. Like, who are what are the highest level, like tier 1 people going to get? What are tier 2 people going to get? What are tier 3 people going to get in terms of their importance to your organization and the gift that you're going to give them? And you know, that's how we did it, and it was like incredible. Like every November, we'd get $50,000 for a really long time, just because we hunted the whale. And the next year, we just call up the person in charge of this, who didn't want to go and find a new program. Like, you know, that takes a lot of work. Who didn't want to go and send like, you know, if you find a new gift, you've got to go send your label. You got to check it out. You got to get you know, they're like, send me an AI file. Oh, I didn't get the correct AI file. I got a different one. Like, you know, it's a lot of work. If you can get the right person, you call them up every year and they're like, yeah, we want to buy your gift. We want to buy gifts from you. I got that hint that speaker that you guys did actually with, I thought it was with like Jawbone or somebody back in the day. Was it a Jawbone or was it Logitech? Oh man, I thought it was a Jawbone one.
But it sounds like one of the biggest things you're saying to make this program successful is like you also have to go out and make it very easy for them to see how this is a great gift and how this plays in. Like you going out with the 3 tiers makes a lot more sense than, just calling up a law firm and being like, yo, we sell alcohol. We want to help you take care of your clients. They'd be like, yeah, so does everyone else on the planet. But if you go to them and you're like, here, hey, these are the 3 tiers we think you could benefit from. We'll do this. We'll engrave your stuff here. We got your name here. This makes you look really good. Then they're a lot more favorable to it.
Yeah, especially the bigger, there's corporations where you're going to be talking to the CEO and that person's going to be price conscious. Then there are corporations where you're going to be talking to somebody else who's much less, who has a budget but is not price conscious. And you want to be like, let me send you a gift first so you can experience it and love it. Just like you should treat that person like the best influencer because they're going to guarantee you 6 figures of sales. Here's a free gift. I'm going to sign something that says, I'm so happy that you're checking us out. We're so pleased with this. And then you're going to say, yes, here are 3 tiers based on your budget. Like, tier 1 clients get this, tier 2 clients get this, tier 3 clients get this. And I would say we just need to get your boss's signature one time. And after we get her signature, we're going to go to a place where the pen is going to replicate her signature. And it's going to look like she hand signed every single one of these cards. And they're going to go in all of the boxes that go to all of these clients. And that's 250 clients. And that's going to cost you, $10,000 or $15,000, but it's going to be incredibly customized. It's going to be within your budget and there's going to be no work for you. We're going to do all the work ourselves, including the hand signature of the notes. And I think not enough people are doing this correctly. And I also think that the hard part is it generally requires a sales team. Like it can't just be like you're responding to inbound people. You've got to go out and find who is the right person at the law firm, who is the right person at the investment bank, who is the right person at the customer service agency who makes these decisions, and let me pitch them on this. And I think that's really hard to do. The other option is that I haven't seen in this business is like a Faire. Like I've seen Faire for corporate gifts where an assistant would go on and be like, what are the corporate gifts I can get that are going to make my life really easy? It might exist. I just haven't heard of it yet. And if it does, that's it should be a better product because I should have heard of it by now, I think.
Yeah. The only one I've heard of is called Goody, which Goody's cool because it's not like what you're talking about is, 250 clients at once. They might be able to do this too. But like what I've seen from Goody is somebody will send me a gift via Goody. It's got some dollar amount that, it's got a pre-selected gift that has a dollar amount attached. Let's say they recommend, we're gonna buy Nik a speaker for $150 or $200, a Sonos speaker. But then I can go on and change the item if I want to get something else of similar value. But it's not. I don't think it's anywhere. Like I think it's still a very different product experience than corporate gifting. Corporate gifting, it shows up. You've got this beautiful gift, a handwritten note, the whole 9 yards. Here it's like, oh, I got texted a link. Let me go on and choose my own gift, and then it comes to my house.
Believe it or not, the first time Facebook tried to get into commerce was, I think, back in 2010 or 2011. And this business basically existed. It was called Karma, Karma. I think that's how you spelled it. I'm not sure if you spelled it with a C. Like, I know how to spell. I just don't know how the business spelled it. And, they did the same thing, which was—
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, no problem. Somebody buy somebody, it's somebody's birthday coming up, spend $100. And then once you buy it, that person will be able to go in and see what are the gifts are for $100 that are available and get it for themselves. I have heard of Goody, actually. I forgot about this. Yeah, that is a great association. I can't believe you'd thought of that when we were talking about this. Jesus, you're pulling out stuff that's fucking nuanced in the e-commerce community.
Trying.
Yeah, I can't believe you've heard of that. Anyway, I think people should be I think there should be a brand that says, okay, after Facebook ads, or maybe even in lieu of Facebook ads, my number one thing is going to be corporate gifting. I bet I don't know anything about Simple Modern's business, but I would imagine they're doing a really good job.
Huge. I bet it's a huge corporate gifting like line item for them.
Hey guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I invested $500,000 in Fulfill about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really a nascent ERP. Today, they've built out an entire set of features to become a single source of truth. They can do full operations, accounting, order management, inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. It's really incredible. They've got huge businesses working with Fulfill, Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway, another business I invested in called Cadence. The best part about Fulfill is how hands-on they are. You know, it's one of those founder-led businesses where the founder is still deep in the code and deep in the product. If you work with something like NetSuite, it might take you a year, 2 years. I've seen 5 years to get NetSuite implemented. That will not happen with Fulfill. Fulfill implementations take 5 weeks. It's not a traditional ERP. It's a 21st century ERP. And the same thing that Klaviyo did to MailChimp in terms of creating an email system built specifically for our industry, well, that's what Fulfill is doing to ERPs. Go check them out at fulfill.io.
All right, we've got a little bit of time left. Where should we go?
You tell me where we should go.
We've got the demand letter. Actually, yeah, this one's interesting. Let's talk about the demand letter.
Let's go to that.
So one of the brands we work with, you know, we've talked about before the ambulance chasing attorney who is out for the ADA stuff.
ADA lawsuit.
Which obviously it's not like a brand is intentionally trying to make their site non-accessible. These are people who send a demand letter or a lawsuit without a demand letter and basically are just looking for a payday so that, you know, you try to think, okay, instead of taking the steps to hire an attorney and go through all this and spend my time, et cetera, you know, that might cost 25 grand for starters. I'm just going to give this guy 10 grand or 5 grand and hope he just goes away. That's happened before. We've talked about that on the podcast. There's another one that I got recently, or actually one of our clients got, that I thought was interesting and just like a new low for these, you know, loser attorneys. So this was basically, so you know the Facebook Pixel Helper Chrome extension? I'm sure you have it installed in your browser. So when you click that and an event loads, like let's say you go to Native's website, right? So you pull up the site and the page loads. Let's say you're on the product page and, you know, you're increasing the quantity or whatever, you know, you click something, you enter your email, another event gets fired. And so let's say it's even just page view. So, you know, when the page view event fires, you can actually click on the little drop down and you can see the event info. And there's an event ID, which I'm not sure if that is specific just to you, but basically what this demand letter did was they said, hey, we went to your website and we saw Facebook is tracking everything that we're doing. Then I went to Facebook and I downloaded my personal user data. And when I siphoned through all of it, I saw the event ID matched the event ID on the page. So it looks like I went through 5 pages and this happened 5 times. You're conspiring with Facebook to track me for, you know, to sell me something or to do something harmful. And that's what the demand letter was for. It was for basically like, hey, you're trying to track me and watch me illegally. And because of that, we want $30,000 to settle this, or we'll take it to court. And I was like, what the fuck? This is a whole new thing. I start looking up, you know, the address, the specific address of the lawyer. First of all, this lawyer is a bitch. Nothing online, no face, no phone number. The address goes to basically like a shared office with a couple other attorneys who I'm sure are also scumbags like this. And they're basically just sending out, I'm sure they sent out like 30 to 50 of these at the same time, where they find somebody who they're going to partner up with. Just like with ADA, they find somebody who goes and takes an eye test and doesn't read past the 3rd line. You know, they're technically legally blind. And then that's the excuse they use when they serve all these lawsuits. They're doing the same thing here with Facebook. And I don't know what the fix is yet, but I'll keep everybody updated on what the fix is so that this doesn't happen to you. But this seems like a whole new scam that's about to start. And I don't know how it's going to end because, you know, the problem is like for the guys that don't have, you know, a couple $100,000 a month just sitting around that they can spend on this, they're going to try to settle quickly. And it's going to send a positive signal to these scumbags that, hey, I could go do this to every other brand because they'd rather just pay me 5 to 10 grand and not deal with it or not try to fight it. Have you seen this? And what are your thoughts?
You've agreed to the tracking when you signed up for Facebook, and like there's nothing else you can. So I'm a little surprised that it exists because.
So I was going to say, like, it is. I guess technically this would still track you even if you're not on Facebook, but I think that's also on the, I guess on the site that you're visiting. But like the only way you would know is tracking you is if you had a Facebook account, so you could download the data. So your point still stands.
No. I mean that in Facebook's terms of service, they would be like, "Hey, look, you agree that we can track you. We and all of the people that we work with can track you with Facebook via our pixel, doing anything we want, and you agree to that when you sign up for Facebook." So, because imagine presumably when you like when an event ID loads on Native's website or anybody else's website. If you don't sign up for Facebook, it can't do anything. Like there's nothing it can do. It doesn't know who you are. Like it only knows who you are if you have a Facebook account. And so, yeah, exactly. And so I would have imagined that you've already agreed to all of this. So it's a little surprising that they're getting away with this and really terrible. There's so many of these little things that, I heard that in Florida, if you send a text message at like a certain time, there's attorneys coming after you, send a text message at a certain time, don't have a certain disclosure or something to that effect. And so now basically all of the SMS app companies are like trying to log and like document who are the attorneys that are doing this. What are the phone numbers they've used to get these, to get this? And then like, let's block those phone numbers. So if we know that this, we know the text message, the phone number that you have is for one of these attorneys, we won't even send the SMS there because it's just going to invite litigation. This is one of the things, this is a weird way to put it, but I remember in 2016 when Donald Trump was running for office, he's like, there's so much regulation, it's impossible to do business in the United States. And this is where I think he's right. Warren Buffett also has this saying, and he goes, if you're driving for 500 miles down anything and a cop is following you, he's going to be able to pull you over for something. Everybody makes, there's all these like little tiny things that there's just too many ways for attorneys to find a way to sue you. I wish there was more regulation. Like I wish there was more like, hey, look, we're going to provide small businesses some relief here. And I think that goes all the way to the fact that like sales taxes are super hard to collect and, it costs $25,000 to collect sales tax per year if you're running a DTC website. And, you could be selling $1 million a year and have to pay $25,000 of that in taxes. That's bananas. So I hope, whoever the next president of the United States is, and forget that, this president of the United States does something like that to alleviate the burden that like is on small businesses.
Yeah, totally. I always go back to that thought that there's got to be like some sort of a lobby or lobbyist organization or something that's like pushing for changes in these laws. Because otherwise, individually, we're too small, right? Like individually, how many brands can afford in-house counsel or the ability to like go lobby for something? It's very, very little. But collectively, maybe this is something like on Shopify or that like Shopify should represent on behalf of all their merchants. But there's got to be something that gets done because this is ridiculous. Like the fact that you're sending a letter or even a lawsuit for when ADA stuff is, obviously if it's real, it's real. But like when it's bullshit, there should be a punishment. Like these guys should lose their bar license. They should lose the ability to practice law and they should go fuck themselves.
Amen. All right. Fantastic. Well, cool. I appreciate you bringing that up. Please keep us up to date on what happens. I'm curious to hear like how this gets resolved for the brand that you're talking to.
I will. I've got one ask for everybody listening. Next week, I want to talk about retail. So if you're in retail, mainly if you're selling through retail, like you have your own retail stores or you're in a large retail marketplace like a Nordstrom's or something like that, hit me up on Twitter. I've got some questions for you and we're going to break that down next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. That's a wrap for episode 7. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.